Hey everybody, it is Marley K. I am here today to talk to you about words in our language that we use going forward as we try to um, get our messaging out as Black people for the next two election cycles, 2022 and 2024. And what I want to talk about today is the way that our messages are hijacked and co-opted, or how we pick up language that was not really created by us or for us, but we pick it up and we take it and we share it on social media and we make it go someplace. And those words were never really created for us in the first place. Those words are created, or words or acronyms are created by the dominant society to mislead us. So I'm going to start today by just briefly mentioning the piece I wrote. If you haven't read it, the link is in the bio. But it's about how the National Black Justice Coalition is basically an extension of the Democratic Party. Everybody who works there is affiliated with politics behind the scenes. Either they've had jobs in Washington on the Hill. They were associated with President Obama. They're with the LGBTQ Legal Defense and Education Fund, or they are actually political strategists that have worked with different political campaigns. And so the former CEO, the former executive director and the CEO and the executive director, current executive director of the National Black Justice Coalition are, former Obama supporters, and they've worked in his administration through some type of official or unofficial post. And so, they've the executive director has also worked for different congressional representatives in Congress now, including the Congressional Black Caucus. So they all are playing this political game with Black people. And the old strategy is still the same: divide and conquer. And there are Black people who will play the game and use us so they can get butter biscuits. They need the money. They need the coins. They want to be able to, have some type of power while they're getting a paycheck. So they use politics and use Black people as a means to support themselves by misleading us. So, when you saw the National Black Justice Coalition come out opposing Dave Chappelle, it wasn't by accident. That organization actually got a grant to communicate to Black people about HIV and AIDS, although what they approached Dave Chappelle about didn't have anything to do with that. But it falls in line with their funding sources. So if you read the piece that I wrote, I did a huge ton of research on where this organization gets its money from and why it popped up out of nowhere and how it does what it does. It's been around for a long time, but it's definitely tied to politics. And so us as Black people, we have to become hip to all the games that white supremacy plays in order to keep us blind and in the dark about, policy and agendas. Because when we tend to become distracted by, them coming out and speaking, or, entertainment issues, the things that are really happening with the policy, like while we were distracted about Dave Chappelle and the trans community, the trans brouhaha. Congress, the Democrats are planning to give illegal immigrants money. They're crafting bills and doing stuff. The Hispanic caucus is doing their thing. Black people, the Congressional Black Caucus, they're helping them. And we're distracted with, Dave Chappelle, defending Dave Chappelle, which is noble, and we should defend him because he's actually standing up for us to be able to speak. And he's trying to put on blast in a, subtle way how the dominant society is trying to control what heterosexual Black men say. And they are crafting this message like Black people are divided, as if Black people are the only people in the world who are not LGBTQ friendly, or, we have these differences in cultures. This is, some BS, because I don't know any culture that, or ethnic or racial group outside of white people that are supportive of the LGBTQ community, but it's just bash Black people, so that, it keeps this narrative going that we're unhealthy, that we're not changing, we're old-fashioned, we, have divisions in our community that can be exploited. So this Black LGBTQ organization that came up out of the blue, it's political, and they have a job, and their job is messaging and misleading Black people. And they use all types of slogans like, Black trans lives matter. Where did that slogan come from? You go look it up online. You don't even know where it came from. It could have started with Black Lives Matter, because that organization is specifically created to advocate for the interest of Black LGBTQIA plus communities, not heterosexual communities, not Black men, mostly Black women, Black trans women, children, LGBTQ families. So we don't even know where Black trans lives came from. But last year, all you heard was Black trans lives matter. I remember watching the Verses, and Lena Waithe, every time she got in the chat in the Verses, we watching music, and she's Black trans lives matter. And I'm like, why is this appropriate? Like, why are we having this conversation? But we were having a conversation because she actually, picked up this language and decided that she was going to carry that message. It wasn't our message. Our message was created by the white LGBTQ community. And of course, because she's wealthy and in and connected and in Hollywood and entertainment, affiliated with Netflix, she is going to say what they want her to say. You got to say it. And she's going to mislead Black people, because we got a lot of those people doing that. So, I want us to be on code and understand that language is really important. And I want us to stop using slogans, stop using acronyms to say what we want to say. And I want us to do that because when we do use acronyms and slogans, those things are so easily manipulated and co-opted. So, you think about defund the police. We didn't create defund the police, but somehow somebody inserted defund the police into our movements. And then before you know it, it was defunct, and nobody knew what it was, and it was bad. Well, Black people didn't create that shit in the first place, but somehow it became ours, and then it was our fault that it wasn't successful. Well, we didn't create it. White people created it, turned it into, and said, this is a better way to say what we were trying to say, because to them, words matter. For us, it was, we had language, but our language isn't good enough for the dominant society. So they have to tell you what to say in order to make it palatable for white people. Well, you see what happened. Same with listen to science. What the hell does that mean, that we listen to science? It's a progressive liberal slogan used to differentiate themselves from, whoever. I'm smarter, I'm better, or whatever. But it ends up backfiring, because now we got all these rifts, and people are losing their jobs because they choose to believe a different type of science, or because they don't believe the science that the people who use this slogan use. So it's a stupid ass slogan. Stop singing it. It's not ours. It's not our language. Leave it alone. That's the dominant society's language. All lives matter. Another slogan that popped up after, Black Lives Matter slogan came out. And we know that when they came up with All Lives Matter, it absolutely decimated, diluted the Black Lives Matter message. And so the dominant society will use, language that's similar to ours to, water down our message, co-op our movement. That's what they do. Same thing with Trans Lives Matter. It was Black Lives Matter, then all of a sudden somebody said Black Trans Lives Matter, or Trans Lives Matter, then it became Black Trans Lives Matter. But the point is that Black organizations funded by white political movements created this language. And then some of us who are naive and don't read and don't understand politics and don't follow the money picked it up, and then they just ran with it. So, our message, again, Black Lives Matter, us protesting police brutality, was co-opted and then, used for whatever the dominant society wanted to do with it, which is, of course, stop forward progress, take away from police brutality, and then you focusing on what does it mean, who says it. At the end of the day, it's all performative allyship, and we should not be engaging in that. We should have strong, substantive conversations about what our issues are, and we should not allow anybody to come in and take our messages. And some other examples are like Occupy Wall Street, OK Brandon, or whatever the crazy MAGA people are saying now. They keep coming up with all these slogans. Like, if you haven't seen how fast slogans get created, put out on social media, and people are talking about them and hashtagging them, like, that is so peak white supremacy. We have got to stop doing that. Don't hashtag, don't repeat the slogans. I would prefer if we even not use slogans. It's almost immature, because no business gets done using slogans. Like, that's for business and marketing, but it's not how business gets done. And politics is business. So Black people, we got to learn how to speak the language that shows we're mature and we're trying to handle our business. So another note I wanted to mention was that anytime you see a quick slogan or chant, it is going to usually be associated with the dominant society and politics, because, that's not what we do. We may create something for entertainment, but when we are talking about, social justice, economic, health issues, we're not trying to create a slogan. We're trying to really describe a problem. But somehow somebody always comes in, co-ops what we're doing, and then they take it and, redirect the message. And then the next thing you know, the movement has stopped. We've stopped using the word. Woke is a prime example. We've been saying woke for, generations. And now all of a sudden, white people took it. First it was, the Republicans. They took it and started using it. And then the Democrats took it. And it's our word. We've been saying it. But now it's all of a sudden a bad thing. Woke is your hotel. Woke is you are Black. That's basically what the word means. Black and bad. The dominant society continues to be successful at rebranding and repackaging our stuff and giving it to us and derailing us. We have to stop playing that game. So we got to stop using slogans, stop allowing people to come in and co-op and redefine what we're saying and mean what we say, and don't let people change what we say. Another thing I want to, just remind you of is that when you create slogans and acronyms, you're not really able to convey what you mean. And when people see it, especially now on social media, as soon as we say something, we're called bots. You know, if you come up with a chant or slogan or acronym or something like cut the check, it seems innocent enough, but that has been said so much. Now there are negative connotations with it because, yeah, we created it, but we used the tool of white supremacy to convey a black message. Excuse me. And so it's not working. Another thing is when you use those slogans and chants, they can easily be misinterpreted. So I'll give you a perfect example with ADOS. And I've been following ADOS for a long time, Yvette Parnell, because she's really on top of what happens in Washington, D.C., because she's worked there. So she's actually providing real good information for people. The problem is that she created an acronym because she's a Beltway person. She created an acronym. She gave it to her followers. Then her followers took it, put it out, and they were really dogmatic about the messaging. Well, the next thing you know, the ADOS people's messaging was picked up by the Democrats. They say, they see we were, black people were having a conversation. The conversation was loud. The conversation was appropriate. The conversation was threatening to the dominant society. And what did they do? They took it. They used black people, put on TV, said, oh, this is a Russian bot. It's not a real organization, so on and so forth. During the political season, next thing you know, movement derailed. Delegitimized. So when you use those acronyms, those things are always gonna not work for us because they're tools, they are weapons of the dominant society to mislead and to have us confused and eventually divided because we can't see what the messaging is because it's been hijacked. So it's just best not to even use those terms and slogans. Again, it's easily co-opted, easy to be redefined. If you talk, we're talking about redefining a message. We were talking about police brutality, and it's been so long, I don't even remember what the message was, our message for police brutality, but somehow defund the police came up. Once defund the police came up, it redefined what we were talking about. And then the next thing you know, we got nothing because white people did what white people do. They play both sides. They fund both sides of the argument. Meanwhile, we're arguing about what we're trying to say. The policy is not getting addressed. Policy is not being discussed. And as it's not being discussed and nothing is being done, we lose momentum. So that's what happens, which is why slogans and acronyms do not work. And the last one is they're always delegitimized. You can look at everything we've done since Trayvon Martin's death, which was where Black Lives Matter started. Everything we've done, every slogan we've put out, everything we've tried to do politically has been delegitimized because we use tools of white supremacy to try to address Black issues, and it's not going to work. So what I want to drive home is we cannot use acronyms, we cannot use slogans and catchphrases to address white supremacy because white supremacy is going to take your movement, it's going to take your slogan, it's going to take your acronyms and delegitimize it every single time. You're not gonna not be delegitimized. So what we have to do is like what Professor Black Truth and the Black channel, the Black Authority, Jason Black, talks about regularly, having your message on point, and it cannot be a quick message. You have to do business. Politics is business. In order to dismantle white supremacy, we have to do political business. And so in order to do that, you have to have the language in order to do business. When you don't know how to talk to do business, people don't do business with you. And so that's what's happening with us. We're not getting anywhere because we are running around saying, I'm ADOS, I'm FBA, this, cut the check, reparations now. What does any of that mean? It doesn't mean anything if you are not working with groups of people who are able to craft language to put it in legislation or policy, or engaging politicians in ways that makes them understand what it is your problems are, what it is they need to do to fix them, and how they can get you off their asses. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But when we just running around saying, I'm so-and-so, I'm this, I'm that, cut the check, Occupy Wall Street, all lives matter, Black trans lives matter, we sound crazy. You know, I'm almost 50 and I'm not getting ready to, I understand because I've worked on the Beltway. That's not how business gets done. That's not how policy gets discussed. That's not how they have discussions in back rooms on how to divide us, with the exception of we're going to create this hashtag or this thing and associate it with something, put it in the Black community and watch it take off. The dominant society is good at that. We have to learn how to ignore those slogans, stop using acronyms. You know, there's a time and a place for it, but acronyms are peak government tools that they use to say what they want to say. An acronym is a message, but it's not giving the message that you believe it's giving. It's not for us. So for us, because if you're Black first, you're trying to fight white supremacy, you can't use tools of white supremacy to fight white supremacy. And the first thing we got to do is learn how to do our messaging. We have to learn how to come up with our own language, come up with our own words to make certain what we mean is being conveyed to the public. We have to be on one accord. We can't be out here willy-nilly attacking people like, some of these groups are battling each other. I'm not involved with any of it. I just kind of watch it unfold online. And you got this group arguing with this group with this acronym, and they're, because they love their leader or whoever they're following, they have two different messages, they're infighting or whatever. That doesn't serve the people. It doesn't serve us at all. We are, still using the tools of white supremacy to convey a message that's not going to be conveyed because we are not on one accord. And it shows when we engage on social media. If, the dominant society wants to see what we're doing, even a little bit, and take into consideration that Twitter is not real, but it's a reflection of a subgroup of Black people. You can see the fights online. You can see the division online. So it's easy for them to sow seeds of division, to give us an acronym, to give us a chant, or if they see that we are mobilized to redirect the conversation, to plant something on the other side, to reject what we're trying to say or do. So as you go forward, please make sure that you come up with a new way to communicate, but don't use slogans Don't use those chants. Don't use those acronyms, because all they do is use those to delegitimize us. And so those are their tools. Those are not our tools. Let's use our words to convey what we want. Let's use full, complete sentences to explain what we dislike about the system of white supremacy and our oppression and the things that we are fighting for. We can't afford to have that message confused with anything. We can't afford to have another movement co-opted. We can't afford to have people among us who don't get it, because we only have a couple more seasons before things get really bad. And if we're going to do business and make change and get some of these old politicians out of office and, make it known that we are not America's slaves, wet nurses and mammies and butlers and porters, we're going to have to convey that by our actions and by our words. And our words cannot be acronyms. Our words cannot be slogans. Our words cannot be chants. It can't be hashtag. You can't hashtag what needs to be conveyed to the world about white supremacy. Just not going to do it. So make sure that when you're out talking about what our issues are, especially people who follow me. I love my followers because they are intelligent. They know what time it is. They're not using those acronyms. Like they can come, they get it. I need everybody to get on one accord with that, because these acronyms and this slogan shit is gonna really get us in a jam over the next 3 years. It's a tool of white supremacy, and we don't need or want their tools. Give them their tools back and create your own language, create your own messaging, get on one accord, and let's move forward. So thank you so much for watching this video today. Please like, share the channel, subscribe to the channel, and, make sure that whatever you do is fighting for the people. If it's not helping us, it's hurting us. So let's not engage in things that hurt us. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you next time.